I'm sorry, Shirley, what, is there a particular piece of property we're referring to?
That shoot.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
the windshield
Yeah.
property,
Yeah.
yes, okay.
Yeah, nobody has title to, really.
He mailed it to us once.
I know, we should have taken it back then. That was way back in my Hannah's time. That was that would have been the smart thing before it collapsed, but.
I guess the biggest thing is, Adam, from the investigations that we've done here in the last couple months of things like this, that property there, we can go through some of these programs with help on costs, because we do have an actual plan
Right.
for that property at the end.
All of the type 1 procedures for the facility would be covered by, and I don't know if you're familiar with type 1 and type 2. I don't have the details in front of me right now, so I can't describe both of them. Oh, you've got it with you. Perfect.
Yeah.
They will pay for 100% of the cost of type 1 treatment to the facility. They will pay a portion of type 2 testing to the facility. Where it gets a little muddy is from there, the funds are usually competitive from that point on. Usually the type 1s and partial type 2s aren't specifically competitive grant opportunities.
I can tell you that each community, I was at a Northwest Iowa League of Cities meeting the other night, and all these communities are talking about this. So the sooner we step up to the plate, the sooner we may have some dollars to help us.
How many dollars are you talking about, Adam?
For this particular facility, and I can only talk about the evaluation we did 2 years ago. We did an evaluation that between testing, demolition, and some type of a restoration project. At the time, the recommendation made by Chamber was for a pocket park. We estimated that it would be somewhere between $25,000 and $45,000 to do the complete process on that piece of property.
And how much money are they surely talking about, 1 or 2?
The 1 and 2, that will cover about $5,000 to $8,000.
I don't think so.
The type 1 and type
I
2.
don't think it's...
The rest of it is actually demolition costs and restoration costs.
So out of a possible 45,000, we could get 5,000 back.
Fine. Let's say we could look at getting 10 to 15% of the cost covered by the state.
Or Nick, you could maybe utilize the other program where you have the,
I don't know.
I'm going to tear it down.
I think there's a wall.
The asbestos removal has to be done correctly. Then you have somebody tear it down and or have somebody haul it away.
And just to take any clarification of it, I did check, I went to a NATO conference last year, and one of the things I did learn at the NATO conference is this type of facility would absolutely not qualify for federal funding. So I don't know if that was discussed at all.
No.
This facility wouldn't even come close to meeting the criteria for a federal funding.
What Mel said when I called him the last time, Adam, was that he can provide the technical and financial assistance to help with the environmental assessment and cleanup when contaminants have hindered community interest in acquisition and redevelopment. So,
now they do have some rules in place. There is some strings, of course. Anytime you get money from another entity, there's strings attached. One of the strings that was very clear is that there are limitations on what you can do with the property once it's cleaned up. And it's not like you can just tear it down and you're done. You have to have a plan in place on what you're going to do with the property after it's cleaned up.
and this particular property has a plan in place.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, I'm still going, I'm glad you're here, Adam, because I just wanted to hear these dollar figures. You're looking at 45, you may get 8 back.
I said 25 to 45 is what they told me. Yeah.
Okay, well, I just was curious. All right.
Okay.
And that was based upon, we use a local vendor to actually tear the facility down, the necessary testing being done prior to doing it. That also took into consideration the landfill cost at Cherokee for dumping the property, because we were assuming, based upon the estimates we'd received, a good portion of the property would have to end up going up to Cherokee to be dumped because it was hazardous material. We also anticipated some cost associated with structural capacity concerns, just to be on the safe side. And I think we've talked more than once about the concerns about the sidewalls and their any type of support they may be providing to the 2 adjacent properties. That also included the cost of course, restoration, which, like I said, the restoration at that time was a discussion of a park, so there was some cost. And REIT might actually come in with some money for that side of it as well.
The building itself is causing damage to the adjoining buildings right now, the way it is.
Okay, you say it's dumping water inside.
And also moisture is, because it's open, it's going through the sidewalls and into their sidewalls and contaminating inside of their walls and stuff, because of the way it sits right now. So we're already hurting the adjoining buildings.
It could easily be argued, some people could easily make the argument that this is a more of a public concern, or at least equal to a public concern as the Sunwise facility is.
And we had people in town looking at that too. That was one day, they came back in and tested again, so.
What did they conclude?
They won't have the samples, the moisture samples that they took prepared for probably about a month. I'll probably get a notice in about a month.
It was on the 19th of April. They came back in. So,
Because they coordinated that trip with us to make sure that they could be to drill the locations.
okay, so far, the only tentative, thought she was gonna make a motion.
I made one.
Was that we requested Terry to post a sign on the old shoe store. Is there a second to that motion?
Do we even need a motion for that?
You know, I'm not sure.
No.
Technically, you don't.
No.
It's under his authority to take action as he deems it necessary under his job.
You got the big gun.
I
So you
make
wanna
a
just
motion
withdraw
to
your-
deem it
Yeah,
necessary.
Deem it necessary. You can recommend that he consider it for such action, but as far as actually directing him to do it, is probably not appropriate.
Okay, well, that's where we are with those. I don't know if we could all go to tax sale and throw everything, we gotta pay the back taxes too, that doesn't work either, so. But there's some negotiating that can be done probably with all the parties involved. If we start, but I don't know what happens after another tax sale, that's why I was hoping we could
Get Colin.
determine some
Maybe.
action. He ought to be able to do that, yeah. Just to take him the list of concerned properties and see what he says. We were meant to get that, that didn't happen, so.